Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Squat Cobbler. I am still Evil Ball Dr. Mike, which means our party host extraordinaire.
Yeah. So hi everybody. Um, that I tell you, I'm glad we don't have to pay per use for the caption that keeps track of Mike's lies in the podcast because it
Telling you,
would we
he
need to
says
sort
it.
of
Go back and
kicks
listen.
have to do a Kickstarter to kind of cover this. But I'm Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram, and I live out of the country in a COVID hotspot for the next 3 years.
Stay out of the
So
country. People could be watching from any country.
yeah, yeah, a virtual party. Happy to do that. So, uh, we can talk further on that. But true, you are still bald, although slightly less. I noticed, just
Yeah,
like a
no, it's
shading.
it's yeah, it's starting to come in a little.
Yeah, that's my greatest fear. I don't think I'll ever do that because I'm not sure if I take it off, it's ever coming back. So it's like be like a lifetime commitment at that point. So I'm gonna hang on
There's
to it.
at my age, there's a lot less of it than there used to be, but it's still it. What is there grows back for now.
So I hear you. So what's up tonight, sir?
Just wanted to touch on something really quick. So there's a really cool site that I still, even as we're talking now, have yet to order anything from. But I came incredibly close. It was just that with all of the home arcade stuff that I have coming up this year, I just couldn't allot the money towards this and do everything I need to do arcade wise. So there's a company called Limited Run Games, and they do really cool physical packaging, reissues of like classic games, as well as deluxe physical editions of newer games that maybe had smaller releases or indie games and things like that. And over the past couple of years, they've been doing a bunch of reissues of Night Trap. So Night Trap got a mention in our Midway Classics collection episode. Night Trap was, along with Mortal Kombat, one of the games that was a focus of the Senate hearings and things like that. In part because it used digitized actors instead of sprites, and also in part, so I guess that makes it more realistic, air quotes, but also in part because politicians held up boxes of Night Trap and then made up a story that's nothing to do with that game. There's a video of politicians on both sides of the aisle like this game is filled with gore and rape and just going on and on and on. And the game, if it were to come out today as a new game, might be teen rated. So none of the things they promised you. If you see one of those clips and you're like, I want to go see this game Night Trap, you are going to be let down if that's why you're going to do it. But it's a cheesy, fun old game that I loved playing as a kid, and then got enormous backlash because of this. And I remember stores refusing to sell it after that, after they'd already sold a ton of copies of it. But just the enormous backlash going on, and now it's made its way to, and it's really funny because a couple years ago they released it on Switch for the first time, and Limited Run Games did the physical edition for Switch. And in one of those clips is a representative from Nintendo testifying to Congress or the Senate or whatever it is, saying Night Trap will never be on a Nintendo system.
Whoops.
Yeah. And then for the 25th anniversary or something, probably longer. I don't even want to think about how long. They did do it for Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, all that good stuff. And reissued it for PC. So now what they did, and again, it was very, very tempting, but I did have to pass just because I have so much coming up. But I really think, if you're watching this show, you want to check out Limited Run Games just for all the crazy awesome stuff they have. But they reissued Night Trap on Sega CD, which is the system that it originally was released for. It actually started development for a system that never came out. There was a VHS tape based console that was on its way out, and this game uses a lot of digitized actors and stuff, so that seemed like the way to go for it. But at some point during that system was never released. But at some point during development, Sega took over the game, and if you play the original game, I never played it any of the ports for other systems, but it's actually there are Sega references in the game. So it wasn't just something that was left homeless and they picked it up. Like Sega stepped in at some point during development and was like, "Hey, it'd be better over here." and Night Trap ended up there. But they reissued it on Sega CD as well as 32X CD. And I'm a giant 32X defender, as I've mentioned numerous
Yep.
times on the
Yes, you
show.
have.
Including they did, and this is I didn't go with just the Sega CD or 32X. There was a box set version of it with both the soundtrack and a Blu-ray, which is the video clips, because it had full motion video cutscenes of the poorly digitized actors. Looking back on it now, I mean, it's like looking at somebody through a rusty screen door kind of thing. But the small window full motion video cutscenes in there cut together as a movie, because Night Trap, the gameplay element of it, you are switching back and forth. You're the head of the security team, and you are switching back and forth between security cameras to catch these vampires who look like special forces guys, as vampires do,
Yep.
covertly stalking their victims through this house. And by that, I mean that someone will walk through the scene, and then the vampire character, which are called augurs in the game, walk by dressed in all black like this, behind them taking like big exaggerated steps. And at the right moment, you have to trigger these Home Alone-esque booby traps that will then stop the vampires and capture them. You don't even kill people in this game. Again, Senate hearings over this, millions of your tax dollars on this. But you trigger these over the top Rube Goldberg-esque booby traps to capture these vampires. But what ends up happening, they shot, I believe it's like 2.5 hours of cutscenes throughout the entire game. So what happens with the game is, if you get caught up in watching the cutscenes, you have to jump. It's a game that all happens in real time, like other games have done as well. So you have to jump back and forth between different rooms. If you're busy watching cutscenes or following the story that's going on in one set of rooms, somebody's going to get killed in another set of rooms, and you lose the game. So it's as much of a distraction as a gameplay element. So they took people have been doing this online for a while, taking the cutscenes and putting together like little fan movies and things like that. So they did an official release with this. But of course, it clocks in at around $100 for this box set for it. It's like, the Midway Legacy's coming. And I just got the Games Legends Mini and the Capcom Legacy after that. So,
And there's still the pinball out there coming one of these days.
all coming eventually. So yeah, I had to pass on it, but that was a really hard pass. That was really difficult for me.
Yeah, so the big set, the $100 set, that's Sega CD, 32X, and this Blu-ray of all the cutscenes are
Yeah, the
amongst
Blu-ray of all the
finer.
cutscenes,
Okay.
and the soundtrack, and like a pin and a poster, I believe. Yeah.
What would, if you were just going to go for the game for one of those platforms? Do you remember ballpark what it was?
Hold on a second. I'm going to pretend like I do it and pull it up on my phone
Okay.
really quickly.
Power of editing, I can cut this out, or I can leave it in and
Just leave it in as
throw
we're like,
captions
"We
on
can
how
cut this
ill
out."
prepared you were.
So the Sega CD and 32X editions are $40.
Okay.
So, but to give you a ballpark on that, it was released. The last one before that was PS4. That went for $30. PlayStation Vita went for $30. So,
So Switch one on there?
it is sold out. But let me see. I can
Oh,
tell you
shoot.
what I'm going for. $30 for the standard edition, and then there was deluxe editions of that as well.
Yeah,
So
I'd have jumped on that. Shoot.
I think the extra $10 premium is because you're getting essentially the reissue of the original game
Okay.
for Sega CD, and then the 32X edition was just an upgraded version. It had larger video screens. The video was a lot clearer, things like that.
Cool. Well, we'll obviously be sure to include a link to Limited Run. The Limited Run website will do that. And I think last time we talked about this, I went through and I didn't have the heart to sit through like hours of congressional testimony to find the really cool clips that you were talking about. But maybe we'll find one or two that we can include in there on congressional testimony. But if nothing else, we get a link to what sounds like a very cool site. It's one I actually wasn't aware of that I need to get out and start paying a little more attention to, because it sounds like they've got some fun stuff out there. And
yeah, they have all kinds of stuff, like reissues of classic games as well as newer games and indie games and things like that.
Cool.
So it's really cool stuff. And I'm just a big Night Trap fan in general. So
okay. Well, we could start a Kickstarter for you. But yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, I think being a fan of it, I could see that, but I can also understand you allocating your budget for the systems you were talking about coming up ahead, because those are going to be really nice additions to your arcade. So
yeah, and of course I could legally add a ROM Night Trap.
There you go. That's always a possibility.
Totally legally ROM.
License copy, absolutely.
License, yeah.
The only way we like to do things here. So excellent, cool. Well, that's fun. Definitely check that website out, folks. If you're aware of anything else of a similar nature that would be good to point people to, hit us up in the comments and let us know. And we'll be sure to kind of give it a plug next show or two. So appreciate everybody watching tonight, and we'll be back again soon.
Thanks, everybody.